a pre-built rig and animating a character to it. Okay, now this isn't going to start, we're not going to just grab a character and then just go right into a full-blown animation. We have to baby step our way into it. Okay, so just like your fish is rigged, your mech guy is going to be rigged, your little what's that? The claw, right, the claw. And then the little stick thing was rigged at the beginning, and then the building was rigged. We're going to get a rig. So one of the websites you can go to is Creative Crash. And you can definitely find the section inside of these things here. But it's 10 times easier just to use Google. I know. I'm going to have to blur it out in the videos. Creative Crash Maya Rigs. Okay, and then it'll take you right to this section. You download, or you register for free. You'll get a username, you get a password, and then you're going to go and find a rig. Now you want to find one that's recent. Okay, so if you go to the updated right here, it'll show you all the most recent ones. You also want to find one, I'm assuming, that is free. So this one is $24.99 for Deadpool. You may want to use Deadpool, so if you want to pay $24.99, you can definitely pay that out of your own pocket. They do have Silver Surfer here and some other ones. So the idea is we want to find a biped, so something with 2 feet. There's Homer Simpson. I downloaded him so we can see what he looks like. Also, if you decide later on that you may want to do some voice, some lip syncing, some mouth movements or something, you definitely want to find something that has that kind of control on it. So what you do is you find a rig. Obviously make sure that it has good reviews, just like when you buy stuff online. Make sure it has good reviews. One review, I don't know. You can even see a little preview sometimes where they'll show you, here's how the rig moves. Maybe. There it is. Okay, so there's how the rig moves. This was done in 2013, it says, or higher. Some of these, because of the changes that Autodesk has made in the past couple years, some of these may not work in 2016 or 2017. So I downloaded a couple rigs. Click the download button, and then when you find your downloads, there they are. I'm going to download also, because they're all RAR'd, I have to download WinRAR from RAR Labs.
Just get 7-zip, you know?
7-zip.
That's always free, but you have to buy it.
Yeah.
This bugs me. I hate this stupid buggy. It bugs you.
Yeah.
I just want my RAR. That's all I want to do.
Yeah. I don't know why they're not. I mean, Windows just figure it out. Windows.
Yeah.
He wants my money.
Yep.
All right. So we close that. We go back here. We
That's a terrible.
right click, and then we extract each archive to a separate folder. Okay. So some of these, like Homer Simpson, there are no textures associated with Homer. Basically, it's probably just going to be colors, so materials that are linked up to him. In the Robin rig, we have the same deal. On some of the rigs, you will find that they actually have textures. So Supergirl probably is a pay one. She has, obviously, the S right here. She probably comes with textures. Yep, so has textures and materials. And she is $24.99. Seems like a popular price. Oh, she shoots lasers too. That's awesome. So that might just be worth $24.99 right there. What was that?
Did she come in with her outfit?
With her outfit? Yeah. That's
Another
fancy.
one?
I don't know. I think her other outfit is just naked. You can obviously search for more rigs. There's a whole bunch of them on here. Again, you want to find something that you're going to be happy working with for the next rest of the semester, because you literally will be working with the same rig for every assignment. There's another $24.99 one. Here's another $24.99. Again, it's going to take some time to maybe find one that you even like good enough to stand working with. There are a couple that I really liked before. Ooh, I don't know what this is. That's pretty neat. He's ready for a fight, it says. I'm going to download him. And I will wait.
Is the one with like the taking apart everything, is that animation or is that modeling?
Which one?
The one where it's like you show everything you like taking apart?
Oh, there's some animation in that, yeah.
Is that for the animation class or is that?
That's for the modeling class.
Stuff starting to rub together.
Yeah. So here's Bruise, and you see that Bruise actually has textures that are assigned to him too. The nice thing about these is that they actually have a bit more detail to them, and you can also customize it. So you could actually take his shirt and put like your logo on his shirt, and that might be a cool way to kind of show off your stuff is, hey, here's this guy that I animated with my logo on his shirt just for fun. Or the tattoo is not his heart, it's actually just a tattoo of your logo or whatever, just as an example. All of these are images. They're just pictures, so you can bring them into Photoshop and do whatever you want with them. And when they open in Maya, they will be that same picture. So I'm going to take all of these. I'm going to take Bruise, Homer, and Robin, which is spelled weird. I'm going to drop them into a brand new folder. I actually need to go to Maya and make a new project folder. I'm just going to call this Sarcona Character Anim. And I'm going to put it in my 2540 folder. And then I'm going to drop all of my characters into my scenes folder. Okay. And then I'm just going to extract them. So I just pull Robin out so that she's by herself in here. I'm going to pull Homer out. Delete his folder. I'm going to grab Bruce out of here. Bruise out of here. I'm going to grab his images. Drop those into my source images. Alright. So now we should be all set. Okay, so I have Bruise, I have Homer, I have Robin, and all of Bruise's textures are inside my source images. Again, make sure your stuff is set up correctly before you get into it, because you don't want to get to the point of rendering it and have to go back and undo and redo and whatever else. So I'm going to open up, bless you. I'm going to open up Homer first. Okay, so what we should see here, what we hopefully see, is a rig that has the controls that we need to animate. Okay, so if we look at this one, it has controls. So our first step in this is to go through and test the controls out. Okay, so it's kind of like a video game. You want to test it out, make sure you understand how he moves, and make sure all the movements you need are going to be in there. So some of the things like how legs move, some people don't rig the legs nicely, and it's very tricky and very horrible when you try to animate it. So here's his eyes, which is usually an easy one. Okay, that's good. I can also grab individual eyes and move those, so I can make them cross-eyed. He also has eyelids, it looks like, so if I grab these and pull it down, or pull them up.
Bottom eyelid. That's
He also has mouth controls, so if I go here and grab this and move it up, and move that down. And then because he's a cartoon, let's see how far he goes. That's really far. Yeah, probably that's as far as you'd want to go. And that's where we talk about limits, right? Because there's no reason I would ever want to go like that far with him, really, unless I was trying to really emphasize something. There we go. Okay. Let's also grab his head. Now, if you don't know what something is supposed to do, you can look at this over here. And just like your rig, it's basically isolating, here's what you should be moving. So if I go to the move, I can stretch him out. I can rotate his head. That's cool. That's all pretty much that's there. Here's his ear controls. So he does have some rotation on his ears, which is, could be nice.
So he has what? Little ones on his tongue too?
Yep. And all of these little ones are typically like more refinement. So his mouth opens and closes, but I may want to push this down or pull that up. Or push it in. Right? Just to kind of emphasize some of the stuff a little bit more.
Awkward.
There we go. Nice.
Stop, Sean.
Let's see what we got now. That one, that's his jaw. So that's that there, and this rotates.
It's supposed to rotate.
It's supposed to rotate. This one moves. That's just his cheek. Let's see, how do I...
Think of him when he's like eating on the show. It's like.
That is his jaw? Yeah, that's his lower jaw. So there's how we can make him, look like he's eating. It's like that. And then this is his shirt. So even his shirt has controls, which are nice. Okay, so now let's get into the other stuff. So on the arms and legs, there's going to be two different ways that you could animate the arms and legs. One of them is forward kinematics. So think back to our very first assignment, which was the stick, where we would grab the individual pieces of the stick and then we could rotate them to do what we need them to do. So right now he's set up with that. And the way I know he's set up with that is that there's a box around each one of his joints on his arm. So if I were to grab this and rotate it, that's how I would get his arm to move to the direction and spot that I need that to get to. Same thing here. Now, forward kinematics are very easy to use if you needed to do something like have his arms sway. So if I'm going like this, that's pretty easy to do if I'm just doing that. Okay. Now, the other way that we may need to animate his arm, let's say he's grabbing something and I want it to look like he's stuck there and he's not going to move away from it. So that would be IK. So if I click on this, usually there's some sort of controller by his hand or wrist. There's an IK and FK. So if I change the IK to 1, you can see that the FK goes to 0. So basically, you either have one or you have the other. You will never have both of them active at the same time. So once this is active, you'll see that the boxes go away, and now I have a circle at the wrist. And the circle allows me to grab his arm and just move it where I need it to move. And I can rotate it where it needs to rotate. And then I could also grab his joints here and rotate these, and now I have these finger controls. And the same thing probably on the thumb, if I can find it. There it is. Okay, so if I'm trying to get him into a fist position, I could take this and curl these in, and grab this one, and somehow get it in there. Maybe I need to stretch it out a little bit. There we go. All right, close enough. Now here's where some of the rigs will go into further detail. So on this Homer rig, I don't have individual joint control. Basically, as I rotate it, all 3 joints are moving at the same time. And so what I would like to do is be able to rotate this back here, but then only curl the tip of that. Homer does not have that setting, so that could be a deal breaker depending on what I'm trying to do. For what we're going to be doing, it should be fine. It's not going to be a huge deal. And then there's also this, which is his pinky root, so I can rotate that. Okay, so that's kind of a neat one there. All right. Now we also have his waist, and what's nice is when they have 2 different waist controls. Thinking about how your body moves, when you turn, obviously you're turning from your spine, like each spinal column is like rotating, and it all starts, in this case, if I rotate, I'm starting at the shoulders, and everything's kind of like twisting that way. So in some cases, my hips are going to stay straight as I turn. Other cases, I'm going to turn my hips and my shoulders and everything. So you want to have as many controls as possible. So in this case, here's Homer twisting at his waist all the way around. If I grab that one. If I grab that one, it's just his waist. If I grab this one, see, and that one's just a translate. So I don't even have something just to grab his upper body and rotate it. Maybe that's what this is. Yep, there we go. Okay, so now I can rotate just his upper body without rotating the lower body. So again, stuff that we have to pay attention to. We also have these controls for the elbow joints. So this is like where his elbow's pointing, which is obviously important. We have the same thing on the feet. So if I grab the foot and I move it, we can turn off stretching too. So that way as we move, you'll see that his foot doesn't stretch past there. It stays locked. Stretching is on, he will stretch. Okay. Now we could also go in here somewhere, I'm sure, probably on this little spur, and turn off IK, and then we would get back to FK. Now again, if I was to animate him kind of like kicking his foot like that, this might be the easiest way to do it, is by using FK instead of IK. Because any kind of circular motion like this is very tricky to do with just that handlebar. If I switch over to the other one, you can see how tricky this would be to try to animate this rotating perfectly, right? Because it's just moving. Now they also have controls on the feet. So if I go to heel, you can see how this is going to pivot from the heel. So he's playing the piano or he's tapping his foot. We got something. We have this one, which is, I don't know what that would be. Just, I guess tapping his foot the other way. We have tiptoe, so we can go up on his tiptoe. So he's moonwalking. There we go. We have the other toe, which is just this movement here. And we have side to side. This is kind of like rocking side to side. Heel spin. There we go. Tiptoe spin. There we go. Stretching, obviously we have that. Okay, that's cool. And then we also have, if I move this up and rotate it, I have this control for which direction the knee is facing. Okay? So that's always going to be a huge deal, because if you have your arm here, you may want your elbow facing backwards or up or whatever, and so you have to have a control that allows you to move which direction that's pointing. It's a weird pose. So actually the Homer rig is a pretty decent rig.
That was free.
That was free, yeah. What's up here? Let's see. His hair. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's even better. Alright, that's pretty sweet. So maybe I'll use the Homer rig for the lectures. Alright, let's try out the next one. Let's try out the Robin rig. So I didn't save the Homer rig because I don't want to save it in that weird pose. That's just the playing around. So I just go to a brand new file, open up the Robin rig, and she has headphones on. Alright. So now each one of these controls will have this. They usually have a master control at the center. And the master control is basically different options that you can enable. So in this case, I could scale it. Maybe. There's a scale somewhere. It just says user scale 1. I don't know what that does. Let's turn on controls here and see what that does. Holy cow. So these are all the controls that Robin has. And if we look at this, we can see this is just some rotates. There we go. And some movements. There we go. So that's a way for us to, I guess, move Robin around. Here is some rotates here. Here are some movements here. There's got to be a way to turn off those headphones. Let's see if we... Usually there's options on this. Controls. Let's turn that off. Let's go to extra controls and turn that on. It's just a Walkman control. Let's see what this does. No, that's just to move that around. I don't need that. Bendy system. Let's check that out. I may need to turn on my controls first and then go ahead and grab something and try it out. Nope.
Cool.
I don't know what the bendy system does. I'd have to look that up. And then we have hair controls. Oops. Hold on a second. Oh, there we go. So it turns on more of these that allow me to deform the character more. So I'm trying to do something cartoony. I definitely have some controls for that. And then hair controls, we'll turn that on, and then we get individual hair controls that allow us to tweak what her hair is doing. I'm going to turn on my window UI elements, show all, close, close. Alright, I'm just hitting play. I didn't know if there was any dynamics on this. So again, we want to go through the same process. I want to be able to grab the character and move the character around and see how it's reacting. Now, one thing that I'm definitely noticing about this rig compared to the last one is the speed. So just me moving this around, there's a tiny bit of a lag, okay? So as I click and drag this, you can see there was like a hair of a lag right there. As I grab this and go to move it, you can see how it's not going super quick. I mean, it's going all right, but it's not going super quick. The more complex of a rig you have, typically the slower it's going to go. Now, that might not mean anything to you now, but what it's going to mean for you later is when you hit the play button, it's going to play back super slow. Controls there. What else do we have here? So this is even more stretching controls. Yep, those are extra ones, I guess. And we can rotate this around if we need to, just to tweak that. We have some stuff here. You can definitely see the lag right there. Look at that lag. Okay. Let's go to the shoulder. Rotate this up. Not much lag in that area. Not much lag there. Let's rotate this. Definitely some lag there. Definitely some lag there. Okay. So overall, this one doesn't seem like it's too bad. Here's more controls on the feet. So there's the ball roll. There's the ball pivot. Toe tap. And a lot of these are just standard things that people, put on their stuff, apart from other ones. Now, a nice thing about this one compared to the Homer one is this one's a lot more realistic, and I'm assuming this one has a lot more controls because if I click on this, I can actually turn on the face controls and really get into what each piece is doing. So here's the eyelid, so I can pull this down. I can grab even just this individual circle and pull that down if I need to really hone what this is supposed to be doing. All right. Also, because this is more realistic, we can do a little bit more animation on this that would appear more realistic than the Homer one. We could also change colors, which is kind of nice. So if I go to the hypershade, even though this is blue and that's yellow, we should be able to change colors because there's no actual textures being loaded. Everything is done through here. Okay, so if I just go into this color, I can make her shirt purple. Okay, really quick, just different color. Now, the sucky thing is that they are blends, so if I wanted to render this through V-Ray or Mental Ray and have some pretty decent rendering, I'd have to change all the materials to Mila's or to V-Ray materials or whatever. Let's check this out and see. Yep, eyes are good. Okay, so I'm basically going through all these major controls and just seeing what they do. Oh, that's weird. Now, I don't like that I can't take your headphones off. That would be something I would want to do.
You can't just like delete them if they're part of the rig.
I could, but as someone who is animating this, I should have the option where it's just built in, where they just have the something there, and there probably is. I'm just not clicking right on it. Okay. Again, we look at the waist. So as we move this or rotate it, this is going to move the entire thing. Whoops. There we go. And again, there's that lag, and it is super slow when I try to do anything to the whole body. And then I go up to this circle, and I'm sure this circle or this square allows me to rotate the spine. Yep. And then you'll see too, like on the Homer rig, there was one control that rotated the upper body. This one has several controls, like 2 of them at least, here and here, and I'm assuming this one. Yep. All 3 of these allow me to rotate the upper body. So I can get a little bit more refined movement, where on the Homer one, I can't. It's basically just like rotate it or don't rotate it. What does the circle do? Nothing. The circle moves the person, but I'm just trying to see if there's one for that. Yeah, so I'd have to look at that a little bit closer and see. All right, so far that one's out. Let me check Bruise. Now, what some rigs will have is they'll have several different models built into one rig. So in the last case, how slow it was going, what they should have done is had a separate rig that goes a bit quicker, so that as we're working and animating, we have one rig, but then when we render, we turn the other rig on. We turn like the final quality one on. So this is Bruise. Bruise? Yeah, Bruise. So again, we go through the same process. We go through and look at how the head would rotate, making sure that we can turn the neck. Oh. That's weird. What would I use that one for? That's just like where his head is. And that's not, I'm rotating it left and right and it does that.
Maybe it's supposed to be a movement one. They forgot to make it so you can't rotate.
I don't know what that one's for.
That was a
That's a weird one. All right, here's this one. And look at that. Like as his shoulder comes up, you can see that the side of his body is also coming up, which is weird. I don't know if there's an option here. Maybe I would turn stretchy off. No, that's not gonna do it. I don't see anything in there. So that's just like a weird setup altogether. Like, why would you do that? I don't know. Oh, so I love Mom. All right, so then we have these controls here, which again we can grab and move and rotate around. And I don't see on him, I don't see any IK switches. Nope, he has no IK switches as far as I can see to switch it to the other kind of animation where I can grab the wrist and move it where I need it. Okay, so for me, he would be out because he's too limited in what I want to be able to do. Okay, I want to be able to just grab his wrist and just move it and drop it somewhere, right? Like that. But he doesn't have that. Not up here anyway. Now he might have it hidden in one of these. You can always double check. Nope. Sometimes it's on the waist. Nope. Yeah, he is incredibly limited. Like even his hand, there are no controls for his hand. So if I wanted to grab, make his hand look like he's punching something or grabbing something, I can't do it.
Got big hands too.
Not
He
really ready
does.
For a fight, then, we see.
Selectable geometry. Turn all these on. Let's see. All right. So you can grab his joints, but that's definitely not what you'd want to do. That's like, yeah, this is a weird rig. All right. So I would not be using Bruise for this assignment. So out of the 3 that I picked, Homer turned out to be the best one, ironically. But just jump to. I'm going to go to the downloaded. Their titles are off. Like rating is here, and title should be here, and downloaded should be here, and upload should be here. Whatever. Let me go to the first one. So the most downloaded one is the Andy rig. And the Andy rig is actually a pretty decent rig. The problem with it is it's never been updated. The guy probably got a job, and who cares? 7 years later, I'm not going to go back and update a free rig. So this is like one of the best rigs that we've ever used. But the problem is because it's so old that it doesn't do some of the things that we need it to do as far as just being able to move stuff around. So I'm going to extract it and we'll just see how messed up it is in 2016.5. So I'm going to go to my folder, 2540, work, Sarcona, and character animation. I'm going to drop the Andy rig into my scenes. I'm going to go to the source images and copy all these. And I think that's all. Yep. Okay. And then I'll open up the Andy rig. Now, most of the stuff did work before. Last time we tried to use it, but then some of the stuff was just slow in updating. So here's one of the nice things about it, is it does have these controls, so I can move the arm around, stretch it out if I need to. I can turn the stretching off if I need to, so oops, I gotta turn this up, I think. Oh, sorry. 0 stretching. Auto stretch is off, there we go. So now he doesn't stretch at all. I could click the arrow and switch this to an IK, FK switch. So now I can rotate these down. But then if I can go to this circle here, which is nice, look at all the controls I have for each finger. So I can grab just individually, I can rotate just each individual finger into place. Now, it might not seem like a huge deal now, but when you get a character and you have a close-up of them grabbing something, what you don't want is like their fingers to be collapsed inside the bottle because you don't have the option to customize it. So that's what's nice about the Andy rig, that we can do that. It also has things like cupping the hand or spreading out the fingers or twisting the fingers if we needed to help grab items better. This is one of the top things about it, is this controller. So right now Andy is a woman, girl. It has woman's hair with a girl's chest and the GR vest clothing. So I can take this and make this a boy, and you'll see that his hair changes. I can take the chest and make the chest a boy's chest and make the clothes into a smiley. And if I were to turn this on to viewport and wait, there we go. So now we have Andy with a smiley face. Okay, so that's what's one of the nice things about it, is that the Andy rig allows us to change different features. So within one rig, we get a multiple set of characters. So if we want to create a scene with multiple characters, very easy to do. We just import a new Andy rig, change the clothes or change whatever, and then we have a brand new rig or a brand new character in the scene. We could even customize the outfits. So here's these striped shirts. This is just reading a texture. So we could bring that texture into Photoshop and change what it looks like. Instead of being stripes, we can put a picture of our cat's face if we wanted. All the other settings are pretty much the same. Here's his feet, same controls as the other ones, foot roll and ball roll and so on. Okay. But that feature alone is like a really nice feature to be able to do. The other thing that's nice are the different levels. So if I go to proxy on Andy, you'll see that his outfit now is like cut up, so you can see holes in it. And the purpose of this is that as I'm animating this, I want to see as fast as possible what's happening. So if I go in here and I grab his foot and I go like this, you can see how quickly that's responding to me. If I go back here to the level and I change this to smooth 2, look how slow it's going to go. Okay? Because it's so high res now, it's going to go slow. So I want to be able to have the ability to work very quick, but then crank it up at the end when I'm ready to render. So the Andy rig is a nice choice. I'm not seeing anything where it seems to be broken this time. Last time we tried to use it, it was. He also has facial controls, so we can turn on his face sliders and his on-face controls. And I could even, let me turn this back to smooth. There we go. So he has all of these things off to the side. So this will be another good test. Yep, he's still working. Look at that. There we go. So now he's angry. Oh, that's his tongue. You can't see it. There. And then we even have on-face controls, so if we really needed to get in here and start to customize it, we really could. Okay? Alright, so Andy is, again, another good choice for rigging because of all the options that we have with him. People have used Andy rigs in, like, a whole bunch of stuff. So here's the Andy rig, and you'll see there's 301,000 results. I don't know if all those are Andy rig, but you can definitely see there's a lot of Andy rig on here because of how popular he is. Now that's also the downside because, now we're getting into other stuff. Because everyone's been using him, then everyone's seen him before. There are other ones inside there too, like you can use Animation Mentor rig. Animation Mentor also has a rig that you can download for free and use. You usually have to give them credit to say that we got this rig from Animation Mentor. He looks like that. Okay, so very generic. You can't do any lip syncing stuff. I like these ones because you should give them credit, but nowhere does it say you actually have to give them credit that this is where I got the rig. Okay, so regardless of which one you choose, you have to go through and you have to find one that works for you. Okay, so let's say that I choose the Homer one just because I've been using the Andy one for a long time. What I need to do first before I actually start doing any animation, start doing any movement at all on Homer, is I need to go through and figure out what controls I would actually need to animate Homer. Okay, so I want to break this down into 3 sections. I want to break it down into the head area, the upper body, and then the lower body stuff. Okay, so you're not going to know right away what each one of these things is going to do, but we need to break it down anyway so that we can just separate them and then add things as needed. So if I go to my outliner, there are it's not showing anything. Let me see. Hold on a second. Set members. It should be in there. Connected. That's weird. I should be seeing my character sets in here, but I don't see my character sets in here. Characters? No. So we'll just do this a different way. So down here, I'm going to go to my character set editor. So this is way down here in the bottom right. And I don't even know those are character sets. Maybe something else. Yeah, that's not. Never mind. Never mind. So Homer doesn't have any character sets. It has these things, but that's something else. So what I need to do is create character sets. And what these character sets allow us to do is group stuff together. So when we're working on the legs, we can focus on setting keys just for the legs. Think about this. If you're setting up your character to walk, you may grab your character and push them forward a little bit, and then grab their foot and set it forward like this, and then go to that, and then push this like this, and then grab this foot and pull it back like this, and then go like that. And then you may also twist his hips so that it looks like he's turning. Make sure I grab the right one. That's not the right one. This is. Okay, and then I grab this and rotate this the other way. Hey. All right. So this is what we would be doing. So you can see all the different things that I had to move in order for Homer to get into this position. Now, for the next position of his walk cycle, I need to do the exact same thing. So what happens if I forget to set a key on something? It's going to jump back to where it was before, right? So what I have to do is create a set of things that are all going to be moving. Like every single thing that I just moved are things that I want to include in this set. So I'm going to undo it, or just reopen Homer. Faster. There we go. And I'm going to create a character set down here. So under my rigging, or animation, there we go. Under my key, I'm going to say create a character set. And I'm going to call this Homer. I have nothing selected, so I just hit apply. And you'll see down here on the bottom right, it says Homer. So what we're going to do is be able to keyframe. When we hit S, it's going to set all keys for the legs or the upper body or the head, whichever one we're focusing on. And this will become important later on, so do not skip this step. So now I need to create sub-character sets. So I'm going to go to my sub-character set, and I'm going to type in lower body. Okay, it's inside Homer, I hit apply. Then I'm going to change lower to upper. Then I'm going to change this whole thing to head. All right, so now when I come down here, you'll see I have Homer, I have head, lower body, and upper body. So what I want to do is inside each one of these little buckets, I want to drop in all the stuff that's important to each one of these elements. If you forget something, no big deal, add it later, but we have to at least get the groundwork going. So lower body. Here's all the stuff that I would typically animate for the lower body. If I move it and it moves just the lower body, that goes in lower body, okay? I also want to take in here into consideration things that would be set up for walking. So like this here would be important for me to do a walk cycle because I can't get him to walk forward if I can't move his body forward. All right, so I need this thing here, I need this thing here. So I'm going to highlight their translates and rotates, make sure I'm on lower body, and under key, I'm going to go to add to character set. So these things get a little yellow dot next to them. They're now inside the character set. So if I were just to click on nothing and hit S, you'll see down here it says result 12. That means I just set 12 keyframes for the character set, because what it does, it goes through and sets keyframes on all those items. Okay? So I'm going to hit undo because I don't actually want to set a key right now. Now I'm going to grab the knee controls. Remember, these are the knee aimers. So now I can grab these and go to key and say add to character set. Now the question I always get, can I just grab everything and just add everything? You definitely could, but you still have to do them kind of like in pairs. So whatever the left side is doing, the right side is going to be doing the same thing, so I have to grab each one of these. Then I'm going to grab all the controls for it. I don't need that, so I just hold control to grab the next ones. And then I'm going to go to key, add to character set. Now, I don't need the stretching or the volume preserve. Those are typically not something I would key. I would basically just like set it on or set it off. I don't need to animate that. Also, these kinds of things here, you know, ooh. Little ankle. So I could animate those too, but I don't need to. Those are just extra things. If later on I decided, hey, I want to animate the pant leg kind of wiggling around a little bit, I can just go and add that later. Also, this guy back here where we switch from IK to FK, I don't need to add that in there as well. I can just keep that as a separate thing. Okay, so I'll just keep that off.
Is it short?
What?
I can't have what you stand.
IK is inverse kinematics, FK is forward kinematics. So if you think of like a claymation thing, they would use forward kinematics to animate their stuff. If they had a character's arm out here, they would rotate the upper arm, they would rotate the forearm, then they rotate the hand. Okay, so that's all like stuff that you would see in a sculpture, like a claymation type thing. If you looked at a what are those called? Those puppets that are on the strings? Marionettes, thank you. Those are more of like an FK or an IK. So they're basically, they have a string here, and wherever that string moves, that's what the arm's doing. Okay? Yes, sir.
When they do those claymation animations, do they do stop motion, or would they have to use the live?
There's some of them where they're using stop motion, where they're videotaping it and they're just moving the stuff frame by frame. There are some where they just go into something like Maya and they just animate it inside there. So there's actually a couple movies that they've done that too.
I used to make the stop goes when I was a kid.
Yeah,
Legos.
it's fun. All right, so that's all I need for the bottom. So I have these two controls here. Okay, I have these two controls there. And then I have these two controls right here. Okay, those are the only ones I need for the lower body. For the upper body, so I'm going to switch this to upper body. I'm going to grab everything that's part of the upper body that I would need. So I'm going to grab that. I'm going to add it to the character set. I'm going to grab this and add that to the character set. Now here I'm not going to use, well, I may use FK at some point, but right now I'm not. So I'm just going to grab these and switch it to IK. There we go. And then I can grab the circles, grab these, and then add that to my character set. And then I also need to grab these little hand controls because I may need to adjust those. And I'll add that to the character set also. And again, we have these little shirt controls too that we could go through and add, but again, I would just do that as a separate thing, a separate item.
So, like for the upper body, you wouldn't grab the entire body one?
This one down here?
Yeah.
I can't because it's already part of the other one.
So they can't overlap?
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, they could, but we wouldn't want them to because funny things can happen. All right, so I'm going to grab these guys, and then I'm going to add those to the character set. We have some collar stuff here. Let's see what this is. This is his neck. I think it's just, yeah. That's just that. So I would actually put this in probably with the head. I'm not even sure if I would do anything with this. This seems like a weird controller anyway. All right. So now I'll switch to the head. And then for the head, I'm just going to grab a couple controls. So like his eyes here. Key, add to character set. And then this. I believe that's his rotating one. Yep. I'll grab that one and add that to the character set. And then, sure, we'll grab this too. That might be kind of a funny one to add in. So like as he's walking, I may want to add just a little bit of bounce to him too. That might be kind of like just nice cartoony look. Oh, I forgot to add these into the arms. It's no big deal. I switch back to upper body, highlight these things, add them into the character set. Okay. If I decide later on that I want to add something else, it's no big deal. You just go there and add it to the character set. You'll find out right away when you start moving stuff and keyframes aren't being set. All right, so now what I'm going to do is just save this as. So I'm going to save this as Sarcona _ Homer character setup. Okay, so now that he's set up, this is our base. This is what we're going to be basically be creating all of our other scenes off of. Okay, so every time we start a new pose or a walk cycle or an animation or whatever, we're going to open him up and save him as. So we should make sure that he looks good here before we even get any further. So if I created a plane just to test it out, and I rendered this out, there he is. Now this is Maya software, so maybe I want to render with Mental Ray just to give me a little bit more stuff going on. Maybe I'll add an area light just to again kind of test it out. Because what you don't want to do is go through the whole process of setting up your poses or your walk cycle or anything and then having to come back and retexture your character. It's not a huge deal, but obviously it just takes up time. Because what you have to do once, you have to do like 50 times. So I'm just setting up some basic lights. Not hitting that. I want to hit that one. Okay. So what we can tell from this is that he's actually glowing. Okay. You can see how the ground is dark, but he is somehow glowing. The reason for that is because he has probably on his material. I go here. Whoa, too far. Yep. If you look here, he has some incandescence, and incandescence is going to make the character glow a little bit. Okay, it's kind of like a light, and especially because it's on a blend, that's definitely going to be like weird. Now it looks like he's only composed of just a few materials. So let me go to my hypershade. There he is. And here's all the materials that went into creating Homer. So if I right click on any one of these and I select the objects with the material, it'll automatically go through and grab everything that has it. So then I could just overwrite that with a brand new material. So if I'm using Mental Ray, I would use Mental Ray and I would use Mila. And because this is the yellow, I would wait until this loads. There's my Mila. I would go into the color and I would pick that yellow. Okay. Now I could actually eyedrop from the other yellow if I opened it up. There we go. So I'm going to go to the Mila, click here, and now that color is available. Okay. So now just so you can see it before I get into the other stuff. Holy cow, Homer. The bad tan. Let's crank up this light intensity. So 5,000. Now he's red because we're not in the right viewing mode. That area light is like incredibly dark. There we go. Okay. So now we're going to get a little bit more realistic as we get closer to this, like 20,000. Okay, so with a Mila, the light's going to interact a little bit more realistically than it would on either one of these objects. So I can just take a few minutes to go through and select the object, and then assign a new material, go to Mila, and you can see why you'd want to make sure that you have this stuff kind of set up ahead of time, because you don't want to have to do this on every one of your characters. Whoops, we've seen that before. Go.
What are you holding down to eyedrop?
So I go here, I click on this eyedropper,
Oh, okay.
and then I just go over there. There we go. Okay, so let's pretend that I've done the entire thing. Okay, I haven't done the entire thing, but let's pretend I did. I'd want to adjust things like reflectivity also, so if there's any kind of reflection that I would need on here, obviously he's pretty flat, so there is no real reflection, but I could definitely add one in. I'm just going to brighten up this light a little bit more. Maybe 32, 3. There we go. All right, so that's good enough for right now anyway. There we go. This is going to be blown out probably. That's okay. Because it gives me a chance to show you another thing that's kind of neat in Maya 2017, which is this guy, the light editor, or 2016. So this is all my lights. Here's all the intensities. So I can just go quickly through them and just put in like 20,000.
That's sweet. Where'd you get that?
Right here next to this guy.
That's awesome.
Yep.
How did you copy those lights into a circle so quickly?
I group them. So I clicked on this light, or whatever light, this light first. I hit Control G to put the pivot here. Then I duplicated, rotated, and then just hold down Shift and tap D until it goes all the way around. All right, so that's pretty decent, right? So he looks, that looks good enough for us to start off at least. Yeah. And if I turn this to viewport, he should go away from being red. There we go. All right. So now what I'm going to do is save it, and now my Homer is actually set up for me to animate or rig or whatever, or to animate or whatever. So I'm going to save my scene as, and I'm going to call this one Poses. There we go. Okay. So now we're actually working on an actual assignment. The first part of that was just setup. It's finding the rig that we want to use and then making the character sets in order for the rest of this to be successful. If you don't do the first part, the rest of this is going to be crap. Okay? So I'm going to go through and we need to create some poses. So what we're going to do is go to Google and find pose reference. Now you do not want to use, I do not want you to use stuff that is drawn. So as awesome as these drawings may be, do not use these drawings. I want you to find actual picture reference for your poses. And you're going to be creating 3 different poses, okay? And they have to be something that is interesting to look at. The idea is that if you were to look at just the silhouette of this, if you just outlined this one, not from that view, but a different view, this one, that one's kind of boring, but if you outlined these 2, you could find a good view that would actually look pretty interesting, right? It wouldn't be pretty boring like someone just standing there, or, you know, that's kind of boring there. Like that one's kind of boring. It's a pose, but it's kind of boring. We want an action shot. We want it to look like they're in the middle of doing something, okay? So things that work out really good are things like karate poses.
Kind of Bruce Lee rig.
There we go. So something like this could be good. Something like that could be good. You want to find something that's going to work for you and help you out.
That was a
It was all like the professionals and
There you go. So let's say something like this pose is what we're going to use, okay? The nice thing about it is it's from the side. We can see exactly what his body is doing. If it's from some crazy Quentin Tarantino angle, you can't see what's going on. You can't see where his feet are, where his hips are, or where anything is. So I recommend when you do this, before you even move anything around, is to look at 3 major areas, okay? One of them is the spine, okay? So imagine that you're drawing this on a piece of paper. Typically the first thing you would do is you would draw the spine. The spine is referred to as your line of action. That's typically what's going to be happening. So in here, we have this line right here that's coming down. We have another line right there, okay? So we have this first one where the spine is. The second area you need to look at is the hips. So in this case, the hips are like this. And then the third area is the shoulders. If you get the spine correct, you get the hips correct, and you get the shoulders correct, everything else falls into place. If you don't get those correct and you just try to wing it, it doesn't work out. Okay? So what you want to do is have this guy off to the right, window key, and then left arrow will automatically do this. So it automatically, come on, play nice.
Please don't tell me you're gonna make Homer do karate.
I am. There we go. And then we'll move Homer off to this side. There we go. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pose Homer in that position. So what I need to do is look at where Homer is. He's right now facing this way. So I'm going to get him to rotate. So I'm going to rotate this thing around here. So he's facing this way. I'm going to rotate his hips and his body. So I'm going to move this over. I'm going to rotate this up. I'm ignoring his arms and his legs, right? I'm just looking at right now his spine. I'm going to go to this and rotate that up and maybe even move that up some. I'm going to also rotate this around a little bit. And I'm also going to, just because this is going to start to bother me, I'm just going to move his hand up here. And some of the stuff gets just collapsed on itself, so you have to be kind of vigilant to move it out of there. Just out of there. There we go. Okay. All right. So now I'm just going to start going through and just kind of laying some of the groundwork for this. So this is that. It helps if you kind of like look at it from the same pose. Maybe like this. This should probably come down a little bit more. That. Maybe he's hunched over a little bit more.
You can bring his body up and to the right a little bit.
Yeah. Let's see if I can move this. See, that's where you have to look at the limitations too, because there's only so much I can do with the Homer rig compared to the Andy rig. Yeah, this definitely needs to rotate a bit more up and to the right. Alright, so then I can start placing some of these things in position. Okay. So I take this, put that there. His foot is out like that. It's too far, so I'm going to pull it in. And then you'll kind of see too, like, you know, he's not very good for this kind of stuff. There you go. Rotate the hips a little bit.
And Homer, he's not made to do karate.
There you go. So that's going to go there.
Eat a donut.
This is going to go here.
Should got a pose of someone yelling at the TV.
And then we have a shoulder. So this shoulder should be up. And if it helps too, actually you get into the pose that you're trying to emulate, because you really find out a lot about it. And a lot of character artists or animators will get into their pose before they even, you know, go to this far.
When we went to that presentation, the Disney thing at Eastern, the lady was saying that she films herself whenever she's animating. She films herself and
Yep.
then animates to her own movement.
Yeah, and you can even find those online too. If you go to YouTube, there's a lot of people who post their stuff online, which is awesome. There we go.
I'm just thinking of that video you showed us of that guy walking down the street, the animation thing.
There we go. So this is an instance where that elbow control we definitely need to pull out. So his elbow is out here. And his wrist should be up. Okay, so don't try to get it all in one pass or get anything in this exact spot in one pass. We have to keep in mind that, you know, it's going to be basically a sculpting of getting him into there. Okay, and then we obviously have to watch out too. Look at that, we're losing his shirt, which is why we may need some of these shirt controls to help out with that. Maybe we need to tweak this some. There we go. Alright, and then we have to bring his elbow down here so it's protecting this. And because of the limitations of the rig, you're not going to be able to get it in the exact spot either. So if Homer has shorter, stubbier arms than the character does, there's no way he's going to get into that same position. Okay. We also need to rotate around the character and verify that his weight is actually distributed. So if he looks like he's falling, just as an example, if I took this and just pulled it back like that, that looks like he's falling down. It doesn't look like he's kicking. So I need to make sure that he feels still centered in this view. Okay? It feels like he's still like being able to support his own mass. See, and I really can't take his foot up even further than that. So I have to be able to, you know, find a good spot for that to be. And that guy's leg is bent just a little bit. So let's pull this over that. Alright, so that's pretty close to that. Okay, not exact. I could probably tweak it a little bit more, a little bit further. Alright, so once you have this set up, then pose number 1 is done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Homer. I'm Make sure I'm on frame 1, and then hit S to set my key. There it goes. So I set 120 keys. So all of that stuff that I just moved, that's 120 keys to get that to be where it needs to be. Then what I'm going to do is take a picture of this. So I'm going to go to my render region, or my render settings, and render this out. So I'm going to save this as Homer kick. Is it home kick? Homer kick. There we go. The size of these is going to be 5 by 7. That should be good. Width by height. The other way around. There we go. 7 by 5. So it's 2100 by 1500. Let me see that pose again. No, that was good the other way. That's good. Okay. So now I'm going to click on the blue circle. I'm going to, I can't see the top or the bottom, so I'm going to go to my camera settings and say vertical. There we go. So now I'm just kind of lining up Homer here in the view and then rendering this out. Now if I need to adjust my camera, I'll adjust it. If I need to adjust my shaders, I can adjust them. My lights, I'll adjust it. Okay. Obviously this is going to take a minute to even load, and I didn't even turn my settings up, which I'm going to need to. But then we can see what it looks like. So if I need to adjust my lights, they're too bright, too dark, whatever, I can do that. Oops.
Ready for Super Smash Bros.
Yeah, I'm just going to zoom out until I get to 0.25. There. Okay, so there's one of my poses. So then I can just go to File and then save this image. But like I said, I still need to go through and turn my settings up. I should also click on the Homer parts, because in this case he's actually a bit blockier than I expected him to be. I'm going to do this. I'm going to say All Objects Off, only select Geometry. There we go. And then I can hit 3. And then he should be smoother. Just to test it out, if I grab that. Yep, definitely smoother. Cool. So now I can go to my render settings, take my quality up. I'll even set this to Mitchell, and then render this out. Okay? So that's going to be my first image. So I'm going to do that 2 more times. The purpose of doing the poses is that the poses will lead into the walk cycle as far as our understanding of how the character works and how to set up poses. And then that will translate into our animation, which will translate into our pickup assignment. Okay? So everything we're doing is building on the next thing. So if you don't know how to set a pose, you can't do a walk cycle. If you don't know how to do a walk cycle, you can't do an animation. If you can't do an animation, you can't do the last one. Okay? Because the last one is basically you have, it's not a big assignment, but some free reign in moving the character around. Now when you turn these in, how you display them and present them is up to you. So if you look at, there's 2 of them up there on the wall, 3 of them up there on the wall, where you can see how they put them all in the same scene. That's fine too. If you wanted to do these all 3 in separate scenes and then put them into another scene and then render them all out together, you could do that. You would just have a bigger end image to turn in. He's almost done. And then some other things I would probably add into this just to make it look a bit better is I'd probably add in some bounce light. So you can see under here how dark his arm is. So I'm kind of losing some of that information. So I'd probably add some bounce light inside here. I would also probably eliminate some of the shadows just so I don't have shadows coming from like every direction, because that's kind of distracting. But that's a pretty decent render. I would actually maybe add some reflections even more onto the eyes. That might be kind of cool. Okay. So then I would go through and save this. Oops, save it. Save it as an EXR, because that's what we saved it as. And I would save this as Homer kick. There we go. And then when you turn it in, I need this file too. So I need to have this image that you used. So you would have to save that image as your reference. And it's always good to save it anyway to your folder, just so you have it in case you need to stop working and then come back to it. Source images. Kick. There we go. Okay. So this is the next assignment after you're done with your mech rig and animation. Is you're going to go through, find your rig, set up some character sets, and then set up some poses for it and start rendering it out. This assignment should take you about a week to do. Okay, from finding the rig to setting up the character sets to getting them into poses to rendering it out. We